Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Mornings LALATE with a breaking news report between Mornings LALATE and Holidays LALATE, a rare time slot, and this is a breaking news development. Minutes ago, Roy Blunt, who is a Republican out of Missouri, Blunt came out, and he's a senator, came out and gave us a roadmap of what might happen next week. And it's not particularly good news. Nancy Pelosi is vowing not to remove the federal aid in the second stimulus package bill. She's vowing not to remove the bailouts of the Smithsonian at $1 billion. And the president himself is vowing not to do much of anything. So now what is the Senate supposed to do? A new report and statements from Roy Blunt minutes ago says the Senate will not take up your second stimulus check next week at all. And that they are going to potentially not even deal with the issue. That they're hoping that the president signs the bill as written, send out a $600 stimulus check, and that they're not going to even push or call for a vote on whatever Nancy Pelosi does next week. This is a breaking news report, and this is Mornings LALATE. Hey, good evening, everybody. On a Christmas Eve, we're now looking like the White House and Congress could be going to a government shutdown. We're looking like the $600 stimulus check that was heading to $2,000 may be heading to zero. And we're looking like the partisanship that was gone is back in full force. Everything has changed in all of a few minutes, and it's not going from good to bad, it's going from bad to worse. Shocking developments across the board. And I'm going to detail them for you, and hopefully this is not the path we're on. Hopefully the spirit of Christmas on this Christmas Eve turns these elected officials to realize they need to start working for you, not for foreign governments. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. There's a lot happening today, and there's a lot of breaking developments, and it's developments like this that I don't want you to miss a video. Like in a time slot, which this is not. This is an emergency breaking report. Also, like this video. In this video, I'm going to go over the shocking developments from Roy Blunt. What happened this morning, what happened after the call for a vote this morning, and what's happening next week. The developments are something no one saw coming. I did not see it coming. There's too many permutations to guess. But now we see exactly what cards will be dealt on Monday, and they're not particularly promising. Let me go over the breaking details. This is the breaking news. The breaking news is that Roy Blunt, who's a Republican out of Missouri, the same state that has Josh Hawley as its Republican also for the Senate, spoke this afternoon about what happened this morning. And Roy Blunt, a senator, said that when anything at all lands in the Senate next week, they won't take it up for a vote. Sorry, no sorry. He says you're never going to see a vote on a $2,000 stimulus check, and you're never going to see the bill that Nancy Pelosi is proposing to put to a vote next week again ever called for a vote in the Senate. These are shocking developments. So let me explain where we are and how we got to this point from just this morning. A lot of stuff in just a few hours. It's overwhelmingly encompassing. First, the President of the United States is not in Washington, D.C. He's at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. He's expected not to return to Washington, D.C. anytime until the new year. That's the first thing. Second, the president and Steve Mnuchin, now in a series of reports, did confirm that they would sign off on the current bill that landed on his table a few days ago, but then changed their mind. Third, Steve Mnuchin has been speaking around the clock of Nancy Pelosi about the potential of a stopgap, an extension of the period in which to keep the government open and running. And there's new concerns that that may not even pass because that has to be signed by the president, and the president reportedly may not sign it because Nancy Pelosi still wants to keep foreign aid in her bill. That as well. So where is the hope and where is the confusion? The hope among Republicans of the Senate, in a new series of comments by Roy Blunt minutes ago, is that the president signs the existing bill, the $600 stimulus check bill, and that he doesn't start to unravel it further. Roy Blunt is concerned that the president is basically saying 1, 2, 3, 4 things I want to get fixed, but other people can say, no, I want 20 other things fixed. Like you and I want adult dependence fixed. We want mortgage forbearance put in there. Why is there no mortgage forbearance? And that quickly it will unravel. Roy Blunt says the best hope for the American people right now is that the president signs the current bill and that we get going, and then we do more relief a few weeks from there with Joe Biden. But there's other problems. Here are the problems. Early this morning, Nancy Pelosi called what's called a pro forma vote. The vote requires a unanimous consent, unanimous vote, because it's not all the members of Congress in session, the House in session, just a few members. She didn't get it. One Republican voted against her. Then a Republican called a unanimous vote to take out the foreign aid. One Democrat voted against that. That didn't pass either. Nothing was done. Nothing was effectuated. The battle line was drawn. The Republicans want to ensure that the foreign aid, the $8 billion to foreign governments that Twitter had a cow over for several days, is removed. Americans want it removed. It's not really partisan, but the Republicans are fighting to have it removed. The Democrats vow not to remove it. On the other side, the Democrats are fighting for the $2,000 stimulus check. The Republicans are not talking about it. They're talking about the other issues to sort of deflect away from it. Then the Republicans are talking about removing the $1 billion for the Smithsonian. The Democrats refused to remove it. Again, social media wanted it removed. So what does that mean? Well, the day ended with nothing passed in the House. And so what Nancy Pelosi says she will do on Monday is when the House is back in session with more members present after the holiday, she will call a normal vote. The normal vote will then pass the bill that you have currently on the president's table with the amendment of the $2,000 stimulus check for adults, $4,000 for married couple, and everything else in the bill staying exactly the same way, not changing a single word beyond the number $600 to $2,000. Then that bill will pass. It will then go to the Senate, and at that point, it will die, says Roy Blunt. In a series of comments by Roy Blunt this morning, he says that it will absolutely die in the Senate. So he does not want it to die, he made very clear. He wants you to get relief, and he thinks the only way to get you relief that's nonpartisan, bipartisan, bicameral, is the bill currently on the president's table, the $600 stimulus check. And that you won't see this unraveling get you anywhere. The best way out of this is for the president to sign the bill, and I still hope that's what he decides to do, said Roy Blunt, who's the number 4 GOP leader in the country. Steny Hoyer, who's the House Majority Leader, Democrat, Nancy Pelosi's buddy, said perhaps the only mistake was believing the president's secretary, Steve Mnuchin, when we were told that the bill, which is on the president's table, when it was passed, would be signed by the president. They were told that. I reported that. It was widely understood and widely reported. They were told the president was going to sign it. Steve Mnuchin was briefing Nancy Pelosi around the clock. It was a good thing she did. She consistently asked him, is this fine? Is this fine? Is this fine? Yes, 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 yes. He changed his mind. Ultimately, he has his authority to change his mind. Steny Hoyer adds, it's Christmas Eve. Surely the President of the United States, whether he's in Mar-a-Lago, which he is, or anywhere else, ought to empathize with the pain and suffering and apprehension and the deep angst that the American people are feeling. Well, this is sort of a double-edged sword. Had people realized that a $600 stimulus check was ineffective and illogical, had Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer not backed the problem creators who had no stimulus check in there, had people actually come to the table and done a $2,000 stimulus check, we may have been going forward in a positive direction, let alone a $1,200 stimulus check. But the fact that it was $600 was so divisive that you saw problems coming across the board. But what is Trump going to do? The new report out of Politico today claims that the president will not veto it, that he'll just simply not touch it, that the president historically has hated the word veto. He doesn't like the word veto. And what he'd rather do is just ignore the situation, say, do it my way or else. I'm just not going to deal with it. This is Trump being Trump, says a former senior administration official close to the White House. He always keeps you guessing. It's Trump. Who knows what he will do? In fact, Blunt says he has no idea what the president's going to do. A Republican close to the White House said the president is unlikely to actually veto the bill, in noting that the president didn't use the word veto as he's done in the past. He's turning a fairly decent 4 years of a decent record into disaster. These last few weeks are absolutely going in a totally different direction for this administration. Pelosi issued a statement today as well. Today on Christmas Eve, House Republicans cruelly depraved the American people of the $2,000 the president agreed to support. If the president is serious about the $2,000 direct payments, he should call on House Republicans to end their obstruction. Again, she's right, but there's a problem with her statement. Her statement says it is problematic because it omits the second part of his statement. The president asked for three other things: the removal of foreign aid. She refuses to take that out. The removal of money from museums. She refuses to take that out. And the removal of the issue of payments to non-documented citizen spouses. She refuses to take that out as well. So she's latching on to one of the four provisions that he called for, saying that she's done exactly what he wants when she hasn't, and ultimately understanding that if she does send what she's trying to work on now to the president's table again, he would never sign it as well, because he asked for four things and you're only doing one of four. One of four is not a complete solution. He asked for four things. So what is blunt things? But even if the $2,000 check measure clears the House, it will unlikely take support in the Senate. Blunt predicted today that the proposal won't even clear 60 votes to pass the chamber, says Politico. Speaking after the Democrats' failed efforts on the floor, an emotional Representative Debbie Dingell, Democrat of Michigan, railed the president for blocking more relief, claiming the president doesn't care about the people. He soured more fear. He threw kerosene on a fire, Dingell said. With that, there's so much breaking across the board. As you sit here today, there is no $600 stimulus check. The efforts to get the $2,000 stimulus check on path are divisive and can only really be done if the Democratic leadership removes the other three items. It's not quite clear why. We have been given no explanation why that AOC, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and the Democratic leadership are so feet in the sand about this foreign aid and this $1 billion for the Smithsonian. It's not quite clear why they are doing that to demand their way or the highway. It's not quite clear why this has to be done now. In fact, the spirit of compromise of this bill no less than 2 weeks ago was taking things out that don't have to be done now, like state and local bailout, like liability insurance for Mitch. That was being rolled over to January. Why are we doing divisive things once again that makes us partisan? Take those provisions out, Nancy. Take out the foreign aid. Take out the museums, and then we have a deal. And we have a $2,000 stimulus check, and we have extension of PUA and UI. We have an FPUC at $300 a week. We have rent aid. We have food aid. We have all these wonderful things. Are all these things worth being held up because of Cambodia? Are we really not going to give people rent aid, eviction moratorium, mortgage POA, UI, a stimulus check? Are we really going to hold up all these things because of Cambodia? Or the Smithsonian wanting $1 billion to paint their walls? This is where silliness overrides reality. Thank you for joining me on a midday emergency report. Join me next on Holidays LA. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, stay in LA for more.